Welcome. Today's September 26th, and we are beginning the book of Nehemiah, chapters 1 through 5. In early Hebrew manuscripts, Ezra and Nehemiah were one book. Ezra focused on the first two groups to return to Jerusalem to restore the temple. Ezra is a book of restoration. Nehemiah is a book of comfort. His name means comfort. Nehemiah recounts his return to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall around the city, focusing on both reconstruction and reinstruction. While Nehemiah is living in Susa, in today's country of Iran, several hundred miles from Jerusalem, serving as cupbearer to the Persian king Artaxerxes, he hears from friends about the remnant in Jerusalem that is in great distress and experiencing reproach because the wall and gates of Jerusalem are broken and burned. Nehemiah weeps and mourns for days, fasting and praying to God. In his prayer, he reminds the Lord of his covenant, his loving kindness, asking him to hear his prayer. Nehemiah confesses the sins of Israel and asks God to remember his word, that if they return and keep his commands, he will regather them. Chapter 2 opens with an answer to Nehemiah's prayer as the king sees his sadness and asks, "What is wrong?" Nehemiah explains his grief and asks to be sent to Jerusalem to rebuild it. As with Ezra, the good hand of his God was on him, the king not only granting his return, but providing him with letters for safe travel and rebuilding supplies. This is a good time for us to remember that God's word is not just information or history, it is living and active. It has lessons for us today. Nehemiah has given us 5 steps to rebuild what has been torn down in our lives, our culture, and even our thinking. Here they are. Nehemiah 1:4, be concerned over the damage. This is not a time to give up, but to wake up. Nehemiah 1:6 through 9, confess sins that led to the damage. Nehemiah 11:1, commit to action and ask God to act on our behalf. Nehemiah 2:9 through 10, be courageous. Know that Satan will place obstacles and roadblocks, but God is our strength. Nehemiah 2:11 through 16, make careful, cautious plans of exactly what needs to be done, then do it. We see Nehemiah's cautious plans as a result of his night ride around the city, assessing its condition. He rode alone under God's direction, being cautious to hear only from the Lord and not others. After getting a clear picture of the damage and a plan to rebuild, he told the people of God's favor and the Persian king's words of encouragement. The people responded, let us arise and build. So they put their hands to work. Mockers came, but they trusted God to bring success. Chapter 3 describes the assignments for rebuilding the wall and the gates. Each man was responsible for a specific section. If you're curious and have time, it is an encouraging study to see the meaning of each gate, representing areas of our spiritual lives that also need attention and restoration at times. Chapter 4 is about the persecution they experienced during their work. Their enemies were furious that Jerusalem was being rebuilt, mocking and speaking with contempt to discourage the people who were working. Nehemiah prayed. The people continued their work. The enemies were angry at the progress, seeking a fight, but the people prayed and set up guards day and night. Here's another reminder from their example. When we take criticism to heart, fear overwhelms and paralyzes us from moving forward. Nehemiah saw the people's fear and he reminded them of the truth. Do not be afraid of your enemies. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. Fight for your families and your homes. As they took these truths to heart, God frustrated the plans of their enemies. His people continued the work with a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other. When threatened, a trumpet blast rallied the others to help. They reminded each other, our God will fight for us. In chapter 5, Nehemiah hears of the financial distress of the people. He was angry when he realized that some of their own rulers were causing distress by exacting interest on the debts of their brothers. Nehemiah spoke truth, challenging them to fear God and do what is right. The leaders agreed, promising to return the interest and not do it again. With gratitude, the people appointed Nehemiah to be their governor in Judah for 12 years. Previous governors had burdened the people, but Nehemiah did not because of his respect for God. The chapter closes with his short prayer: "Remember me, O my God, for good, according to all that I have done for this people." Nehemiah's relationship with God is encouraging. When a problem comes up, he prays. God hears and answers, just as he continues to hear and answer today. Nehemiah is grateful to God that the good hand of his God is on him. God put into his mind the plan to rebuild the wall and gates. Nehemiah was not overcome with despair when he and the people were attacked and mocked. He prayed, reminding himself and others of who their God is, what he has said, and how he continues to be faithful to them. God does not change. He continues to look for people whose hearts and minds are totally devoted to knowing him, knowing his word, and doing what he directs us to do. What a truly amazing God we serve.
Hi everybody, this is David with Set Sail at Grace Harbor. I would like to issue you a 92-day challenge. For the 92 days beginning October 1st till December 31st to join us every day reading the Bible together. And we'll cover the entire New Testament in that 92 days. So if you're up for a challenge, join us then starting October 1st at Set Sail with Grace Harbor.